regional sales director emptied his coffee across my mop bucket and said I should be grateful he didn't fire me for breathing his air. His name was Vincent Reeves. He wore a $4,000 suit and drove a Porsche Cayenne that he parked in the CEO spot every single day. He had no idea I just purchased 51% of the company he worked for. That information would come later, much later, after I'd seen exactly who these people were when they thought nobody important was watching. My name is Leonard Cross. I'm 61 years old. For the past 30 years, I've been a private equity investor specializing in distressed manufacturing companies. I bought 17 businesses, turned 15 of them profitable, and made more money than I'll ever need. I learned early that you discover the truth about a company by watching how management treats the people they think don't matter. Janitors, warehouse workers, night shift security. Those are the people who see everything. 6 months ago, I identified Hammond Industrial Solutions as a potential acquisition. Mid-size fabrication company in Ohio, $60 million in annual revenue, bleeding money for 3 years straight. The CEO, a man named Preston Hammond, had inherited the business from his father, but lacked the vision to keep it competitive. He'd hired expensive consultants, bloated middle management, and created a culture where status mattered more than results. My team ran the numbers. The company was salvageable. The problem wasn't the product line or the market, it was leadership. Specifically, it was the layer of entitled executives who treated the business like a country club and the workers like servants. I could have made an offer through my attorneys. Standard acquisition process. But I've learned something over 3 decades. When you buy a company blind, you inherit problems you can't see on a balance sheet. Toxic culture, hidden corruption, employees so beaten down they've stopped caring. You can't fix what you don't understand. So I did something I'd done twice before. I went in undercover. I called Preston Hammond directly. Used a different name, different backstory. Said I was looking for work, any work. Didn't matter what. He sounded desperate enough to hire anyone. The company's janitorial contractor had just quit after not being paid for 2 months. Preston was personally cleaning toilets at night because he couldn't find a replacement fast enough. I started the following Monday, $15 an hour, 3rd shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I brought my own cleaning supplies, wore overalls from Walmart and boots from a surplus store. Drove a 2003 Ford Ranger I'd bought from a farm auction specifically for this job. Nobody looked twice at me. I was exactly what they expected a janitor to be: old, quiet, forgettable. The disrespect started immediately. Vincent Reeves, the regional sales director, was the worst. On my second night, I was mopping the executive floor when he came back from some client dinner, obviously drunk. He walked directly across my wet floor with his expensive shoes, tracking mud everywhere, then turned and said, "You missed a spot, old man. Maybe if you spent less time leaning on that mop and more time using it, this place wouldn't look like a dump." I nodded, mopped again, said nothing. His assistant, a woman named Sylvia Kent, wasn't much better. She'd leave her desk covered in half-empty takeout containers, coffee cups and trash, then complained to Preston that the cleaning crew wasn't doing their job. I'd arrive at night to find passive-aggressive notes taped to my cart. The bathroom on 3 smells. Do your job properly. These windows are disgusting. Are you even trying? I learned to become invisible. That's the trick to this kind of operation. You move quietly, keep your head down, and listen. People talk freely around janitors. They forget you're even there. And in a business environment, that's when you hear the truth. I heard Vincent bragging about inflating sales reports to boost his commission. I heard Sylvia discussing how she'd been doctoring expense reports for 18 months. I heard Preston's VP of Operations, a man named Garrett Holloway, admitting to his secretary that he'd been selling company equipment on the side and pocketing the cash. Every night, I cleaned their offices and documented everything. I photographed documents they left on their desks, I recorded conversations through the walls when they worked late. I built a file that would have made any prosecutor's career, but I wasn't interested in prosecution. I was interested in cleaning house. The worst incident happened in month 4. I was emptying trash cans in the second floor break room when 3 of the younger sales reps came in. They didn't notice me in the corner, or didn't care. They were celebrating closing a big contract. Drunk on expensive whiskey someone had brought back from a client meeting. One of them, a kid maybe 30 years old named Curtis Brennan, started doing an impression of me, hunched over, shuffling his feet, mumbling in a gravelly voice. "Yes, sir. Mr. Reeves, sir. I'll clean that up right away, sir. So sorry for existing, sir." His friends laughed. Curtis kept going. "You ever notice how the old guy smells? Like he hasn't showered in a week. Someone should tell him janitors are supposed to be clean." More laughter. They never looked my direction. I finished emptying the trash and left, but I added Curtis's name to a list I was keeping. A list of people who wouldn't be employed here 6 months from now. The thing about undercover work is that you see patterns. I noticed Preston Hammond rarely came to the office before 11. I noticed Vincent Reeves spent more time at expensive lunches than in client meetings. I noticed the actual workers, the people running the machines and fulfilling orders, arrived early and stayed late. They cared about the company. Management didn't. I also noticed something else. Hammond Industrial Solutions had incredible potential. The manufacturing floor was outdated but salvageable. The workforce was skilled and loyal despite terrible leadership. The customer base was solid. With the right management and some capital investment, this company could be worth $120 million in 3 years. By month 5, I'd seen enough. I called my attorney, a woman named Patricia Lowe, who'd handled 14 acquisitions for me. "Start the paperwork," I told her. "Full purchase, cash offer, 51% controlling stake. I want this done in 30 days. Patricia knew better than to ask questions. Preston Hammond won't know what hit him. He will eventually, but not yet. The acquisition moved fast. Preston was desperate. The company was bleeding cash. He owed money to suppliers, banks, and had personally guaranteed loans he couldn't cover. When my shell corporation made a $42 million offer for controlling interests, he practically wept with relief. The paperwork closed on a Friday afternoon. By Monday morning, I legally owned Hammond Industrial Solutions, but nobody knew it yet. The purchase agreement included a 30-day transition period where Preston stayed on as interim CEO while the new ownership team evaluated operations. I kept showing up for my janitorial shifts, kept mopping floors, kept emptying trash cans, kept watching. Vincent Reeves got worse. On my second to last night as janitor, he held a party in the executive conference room, invited his sales team, brought in catering, expensive wine. They left the room destroyed, food on the walls, wine stains on the carpet, broken glass near the windows. I found a note taped to the door. "Clean this mess by morning or you're fired. VR." I cleaned it. Took me until 5 a.m. I photographed everything first, though. Every stain, every piece of garbage, every sign of disrespect. Added it to the file. The reveal was scheduled for Monday, March 18th at 2 p.m. The board meeting where the new owner would be introduced to senior management in the board of directors. Preston had been telling people the new owner was some venture capital firm from Boston. Anonymous investors who'd be hands-off. Business as usual, just with better funding. That Monday morning, I arrived at 9 a.m., not in overalls, in a Tom Ford suit I'd had tailored in New York, drove up in my actual car, a Mercedes S-Class, parked in the spot marked reserved for owner. I walked through the front lobby. The receptionist, a young woman named Nina, who'd always been kind to me during my janitorial nights, didn't recognize me at first. Then her eyes went wide. "Mr. Leonard?" "Good morning, Nina. Is the boardroom ready?" Yes, sir." I took the elevator to the top floor, walked past Vincent Reeves' office. His door was open. He was on the phone, feet up on his desk, laughing about something. He glanced at me, did a double take, then went back to his conversation. Didn't recognize me, cleaned up. The boardroom was exactly as I'd left it 72 hours ago. Still smelled faintly of wine and expensive perfume from Vincent's party. I stood at the head of the table and waited. They arrived at 1:55 p.m. Preston Hammond first, looking nervous. Then the board members, 7 people who barely knew what the company did anymore. Then senior management. Vincent Reeves, Sylvia Kent, Garrett Holloway, Curtis Brennan, and 4 others. Vincent saw me standing at the head of the table and frowned. "Who the hell are you?" Preston cleared his throat. "Gentlemen, this is Leonard Cross. He represents the new ownership group." "Represents?" I said quietly. "No, Preston. I am the new ownership group. I own 51% of this company as of last Friday." The room went silent. Vincent's face flushed. "I don't understand. Who are you? We've never heard of you." "You have, actually. We've met quite a few times. Usually late at night. Usually when you were walking across my freshly mopped floors." Confusion rippled through the room, then slowly recognition. Vincent's mouth opened. Sylvia made a small choking sound. Curtis Brennan went pale. "The janitor," Vincent whispered. "You're the janitor." "I was doing janitorial work, yes, but I'm primarily a private equity investor. I've spent the last 6 months observing this company from a unique perspective, watching how you treat people you consider beneath you, watching how you conduct business when you think nobody important is watching. What I found was enlightening." I opened my briefcase and pulled out a folder. 200 pages of documentation, photographs, recordings, financial records. "Vincent Reeves, you've been falsifying sales reports for 14 months, inflating numbers to maximize your commission. You've personally stolen approximately $340,000 from this company. You're fired. Security will escort you out in 5 minutes." Vincent stood up. "You can't. I own this company. I can do exactly that." I turned to Sylvia. "Sylvia Kent, fraudulent expense reports totaling $127,000 over 18 months. You're also fired." She started crying. I continued. "Garrett Holloway, you've been selling company equipment and pocketing the proceeds. $89,000 in theft. Fired." "Curtis Brennan, while I can't fire you for being disrespectful, I can fire you for performance failures. Your sales numbers are the worst in the department. You spend more time drinking in the break room than meeting clients. Fired." I worked through the list. 9 people total. Every person who treated me like garbage over 6 months. Every person who'd stolen from the company or abused their position. Preston Hammond sat frozen. "Leonard, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about any of this." "I know you didn't, Preston. That's the problem. You've been absent. You've let this company rot while you collected a paycheck. But you're not a thief. You're just ineffective. So I'm offering you a choice. Retire with dignity. I'll give you a severance package that lets you walk away clean. Or stay on as a consultant for 1 year at half your current salary and learn how to actually run a business. Your decision." Preston looked at the table. "I'll take the severance. This company deserves better than what I've given it." Agreed. Security came and escorted the fired executives out. Vincent Reeves screamed about lawyers all the way to the parking lot. Sylvia left in tears. Garrett Holloway left in silence. Curtis Brennan looked back at me once before leaving, and I could see he finally understood. The old janitor he'd mocked had just ended his career. When the room cleared, I addressed the remaining board members and the few managers who'd survived the purge. 3 people. All of them were the ones who'd actually treated me with basic human respect during my time as janitor. "This company has potential," I said, "but it's been poisoned by a culture that values status over competence. That ends today. We're rebuilding from the ground up. I'm bringing in new management. We're investing in the manufacturing floor. And we're implementing a policy that every executive, starting with me, spends 1 week per year working a different job in the company. You want to lead? You need to understand what it's like to work for yourself. One of the surviving managers, a woman named Angela Pierce, who ran the logistics department, spoke up. Mr. Cross, why didn't you just buy the company the normal way? Why go through all this? Because, Angela, I needed to know who you all were when you thought nobody was watching. I've bought companies before and discovered too late that the culture was toxic. This time, I knew exactly what I was getting, and I knew exactly who needed to go. The meeting lasted another 2 hours. We discussed restructuring, investment plans, and new hires. When it ended, I stayed in the boardroom alone. Nina, the receptionist, knocked softly. Mr. Cross, can I ask you something? Of course. When you were working nights, you always said good morning to me, even when other people ignored you. Why? Because you treated me like a human being, Nina. You didn't know I owned anything. You just saw someone doing hard work and respected them for it. That's rare, and it's the reason you're getting promoted to executive assistant, if you want the job. Her eyes filled with tears. Yes, sir. Thank you. 6 months later, Hammond Industrial Solutions had turned its first profit in 4 years. The new management team I'd hired focused on efficiency and respect. We promoted workers from the floor to supervisory positions. We invested $8 million in equipment upgrades. We fired the expensive consultants and listened to the people who actually did the work. Vincent Reeves tried to sue me for wrongful termination. His lawyer dropped the case after reviewing the evidence I'd collected. Last I heard, he was selling insurance in Cleveland. Sylvia Kent filed for bankruptcy. Garrett Holloway went to jail for 18 months after I handed my evidence to the district attorney. Curtis Brennan moved back in with his parents. The company is now worth $103 million. We're on track to hit $120 million by next year. I've hired 87 new employees. 53 of them were promoted from within. The rest were carefully vetted for cultural fit, not resume prestige. Every executive still spends 1 week per year in a different role. Last month, our new VP of Operations worked a week on the loading dock. She learned more about inefficiencies in 5 days than she learned in 6 months in her office. People ask me if I regret spending 6 months cleaning toilets. If I think it was beneath me, I tell them the same thing every time. I learned more about business, about leadership, and about human character in those 6 months than I learned in 30 years of boardrooms. I learned that the people at the bottom see everything. They know who the thieves are. They know who works and who coasts. They know the truth. And I learned that respect isn't about titles or money. It's about how you treat people when there's no advantage to being kind. When nobody's watching. When the person in front of you is just an old man with a mop who you think doesn't matter. Vincent Reeves thought I didn't matter. He was wrong, and it cost him everything. The best revenge isn't dramatic or violent. It's patient. It's strategic. It's watching someone destroy themselves while you document every step. And then, when the moment is right, you simply show them the bill for all the disrespect they thought was free. That's what I did, and I'd do it again.